take your life seriously.
Welcome to the Beyond Limits podcast.
Yes!
It's only taken me about 2 months to learn that, but I'm in. Okay, so today's topic is going to be about recovery stuff. We've just been on holiday, both of us.
Yes.
So I think we're going to go into it and talk about the importance of holidays and stuff, something that I think I've definitely underestimated in my life. And to be honest, I think the last holiday I went on before the one I've just been on must have been about 4 or 5 years ago. I've been on small holidays, but I mean like an actual beach holiday where you have a break. I've been on little holidays with the kids. I don't know about yourself, Mark. Do you go regular on holiday?
No. This is quite interesting, actually, because we were talking about this the other day, and then I did a bit of a post yesterday on Facebook asking for suggestions for topics for the podcast, and this one came up a lot about recovery, relaxation, taking time out, all that kind of stuff. And because we have both just come back from holiday, and coincidentally I've been talking about this kind of stuff off camera but behind the scenes for our own personal training, it's quite a pertinent, that's a big word, a pertinent some topic to talk about. So we're going to start with what, holidays?
I think we start with holidays. Holidays is, because it's just top of mind, holidays is like a nice to have. And I know we should go on more, but they're not always going to be there. But then we're going to go on to stuff that will help out weekly, that you can just chuck in, that anyone can do. Stuff like Zone 2 training and all that kind of stuff that's going to aid your recovery. But I think first, if we stick with holidays, because that's on top of the mind. So first of all, how was your holiday? Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
All right, so I'm going to be honest with you all. I absolutely did enjoy it. I loved it. But I struggle. The first day, great. Second day, great. Third day, great. But then by day 4, I'm kind of like itching to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it worked out all right, actually, because we went to Corfu. I spent like 2 days laying in a puddle of my own sweat by the swimming pool. And then started utilising the health club a bit. I got in the sauna. Did a bit of swimming, used the steam room.
Nice.
Just some real relaxation stuff. And then when I started to get a little bit twitchy, we booked like safaris, boat trips.
That's
so
cool.
It was great, and it's nice, things like the boat trip, even the safari to a degree, when you can't really have your phone in your hand.
Yeah. You
can just proper switch off on the boat. There's no Wi-Fi, no signal out there on the ocean. And that's when you can really do what you're there to actually be doing. That's relaxing and chilling. And then I came back straight into a firefight of problems, issues and stuff to do, but that is life. But in answer to your question, yes, it was a good holiday. How about you?
Yeah, so mine was good. And we say relax. It was a strange one because I thought this holiday, what I want to do is I'm just going to try not to be on my phone at all. And really switch off from that side of things and rest my body as well, which I just sat around for the first couple of days. Took in loads of sun. I took the kids with me, so it was still a bit busy. They were off playing though, and I was just relaxing. My body actually didn't feel that great from just sitting around. My back was quite sore and stuff after a few days, so I did chuck in a few gym sessions there. But where I really noticed the difference was on my mental fatigue, which had an actual overall feeling of my fatigue in itself in general. Mm-hmm. But the kids loved it as well, and it's just nice to spend some time with them and bonding and stuff. But yeah, relaxing my brain was the big takeaway point for me. I don't know if you felt the same. Yeah,
and I think that's actually quite important to talk about. I think yesterday when we were training, we talked about this. Like, my body's the same as yours, right? Mm-hmm. When you stop, you automatically think, I'm just going to like relax and zen out. But then you start to feel a little bit of soreness because your body's not used to it. Mm-hmm. And it takes a couple of days to adjust. But I think we massively underestimate what mental fatigue can do to you physically. And I don't mean like stress and all those kind of things. I mean just having your plate full a lot of the time. Rushing around, you're doing the school run, you're doing the training, you're running a business. There's so many things that human beings now are trying to squeeze into a day, that when you take that time out, you get away from your phone, you get on the sun lounger, your brain almost feels like it just goes, and then deloads. That takes a couple of days, but then that starts to roll out, I guess, into your physical as well as your mental. That decompression. Once your brain starts to decompress, you feel your body start to decompress and let go of those aches and those pains and those niggles and all those things. But it takes time. And you've got to be patient with it.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. I think the mental rest was really good. And what I found actually, after having a few days mental rest, I got more ideas about like more things that I want to do in the future. I sort of had more space to think because I had that little rest. I think my creative brain was a bit more switched on. So even stuff like we're running an open week this week at the gym where I train, you know, I came up with that idea. I just thought, you know what, let's just do, and those kind of things that sometimes I have time to think about. But you said you're doing the school run, you're doing this, that, and the other. Life's busy, and you've got loads of things in your brain to try and think about that you don't have space for that creative thinking, which is sometimes, you know, it's needed. So holiday was awesome. Also the sun, I think, you know,
vitamin D
because I'm literally, because most of my day involves of getting up, driving out, gym most of the day, driving to the next gym, home, stretch, whatever, back to the gym. I'm never ever really sat and just laid out in the sun in my hot pants, you know, like my short shorts.
Like Daisy Dukes.
I'm never laid out in the sun. And I just felt a few days of that, of just soaking in the sun, which makes total sense, because we all should get more vitamin D. That's made me know I've purchased some vitamin D. I always take a multivitamin, but now I've just purposely bought a vitamin D supplement as well to take. But I do think there's something to be said to getting out in the sun. I felt like my whole body felt better. My testosterone levels went up, I felt like, you know, because you can tell that sometimes in the morning. I felt that was a lot better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel like vitamin D for me is definitely something I need to do a bit more, try and get out in the sun a bit more. I mean, there's something that I'll explore and probably something we can do a podcast on in the future. Because
do you know what? I was just thinking exactly saying that maybe we'll do a podcast later on the things you can do for your mental and physical health that cost nothing.
Yeah, true.
That cost a holiday costs money, but getting out in the sun, getting out in the ocean, drinking enough water. I'm not going to go into it now, but I think that's really interesting actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it lowers the barriers to entry. Then anyone can do these things and go out and live and be healthier.
Yeah.
Now, holidays are great. You mentioned that after a couple of days, you started doing a little bit of training.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice little segue actually into what you mentioned at the beginning, which was Zone 2 training. So I got a little story about this.
Okay.
I didn't know what Zone 2 training was. And when I was training for the Invictus Games back in, I think it was 2017, the first time round, it was pretty intense. You know, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I had a full-time job at the time. I'm doing cardio in the morning and then S&C in the evening and then going to camps on the weekend. And the camps were intense. And the programs that they were giving us on days that they tagged as rest days, there was training in it. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. I'm supposed to be resting and doing nothing. What is this? They went, this is Zone 2, like active recovery training. Yeah. And I got really like shitty about it because I'm like, no, it's a rest day. I'm not doing anything because I didn't understand what it was. I do now, which is why we're going to talk about it. But it is very beneficial, I believe, for your recovery, both physically and mentally, for your long-term health. And I think that of all of the different kinds of training you can do, this is the entry level kind of training, which I think everybody and anybody can do. No excuses.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think also, not only is it the entry level, but it is also, I think you get your most bang from your buck. It's hard to say that. I mean, if I could put one kind of training in, you only could do one. Is that a Zone 2 kind of formatted training? It might be, because you know, you can do so much things in that Zone 2 range. You could do a circuit where you're trying to keep your heart rate between 130 and 140. You could do rower, you could do whatever you can do, and we'll go into more detail in a minute, but there's so much things that you can do for your overall body. Your heart health is going to be improved. It's going to keep your body fat down, all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you're going deadlifting twice a week, or once a week, and then you're squatting, is that going to be as beneficial as doing 3 zone 2 sessions a week? I don't think it is. I could be wrong, I'm no expert in this, but I just feel like from my personal experience from doing that kind of training, I feel like, and I do all sorts of training, I do the lifting, I do the jits, I do the zone 2. For me feels like a session where I feel the most recovered and the most healthier after, if that makes sense. If you do a full 2 hours or 1 hour session of jits, you don't come out there feeling like, oh, my body feels amazing, and I feel great. You come out feeling like, what's my body gone through? Whereas zone 2, I feel a lot different. So should we go into different types of zone 2?
Let me just, before we do dive in, let's explain for those that maybe don't know what it is. And I'm going to read this off my phone. I just thought I'd get, because you said this, you're not an expert in it, I'm not an expert in it. We're not an expert in most of the things we talk about. We're enthusiasts and participants who just like to share what we've learned. So the definition in fitness is that zone 2 typically refers to a specific heart rate training zone. Heart rate training zones are used to guide workouts based on different intensity levels. Zone 2 is commonly known as the aerobic or endurance zone. In this zone, your heart rate is moderate, typically between 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Workouts in Zone 2 are often characterized by steady and sustainable efforts, which help improve cardiovascular endurance and promote fat burning. So, in layman's terms, long, slow, steady, where you could potentially do the whole thing like I do, just do nasal breathing. But if you have someone with you, you should be able to hold a conversation with that person. If you're both on bikes, for example, sat side by side, you should be able to have a conversation similar to what we are now without being out of breath and unable to do it.
Yeah, and it's a strange one when you first start doing it, because you think, well, I'm not really doing much. I don't feel like I'm actually working as hard as I am. I think both of us are the same mindset, where it's like, oh, we're going to work out. Let's go and work out. We've got to try and kill ourselves. But actually, the zone 2, you've got to take a little bit of a step back, and you've got to say, well, no, I'm not here to do that. This is for recovery purposes. So I've got to take a step back and actually just taper it off a little bit, and not try and get out of the mindset of like, oh, I'm training today, I've got to kill myself. And as you said, we're not experts in these things, but we're both on similar mindsets where we want to train for a long time. And I think if you're in the mindset where you're just killing yourself every day, it's short-term thinking. You could do that for a few years maybe, but are you going to want to do that when you're 60, 70? You're not going to want to do it. I mean, there's times when you can do that, but not every day. No way.
No.
So zone 2 for you, which machines do you use? You like the...
So I've got a hand bike.
Nice.
At home in the garage on a turbo trainer. What I'm doing right now, which I did this morning. So we did, 2 hours of jiu-jitsu yesterday?
Yeah,
open mat,
yeah.
So this morning I jumped on the bike and I just did 20 minutes. What I do is I'll do 5 minutes in gear 5, and then when I hit the 5 minute point, I crank it up to 6. 5 minutes later to 7. Last 5 minutes, 8. So the resistance is slightly increasing. The pace isn't. I do the whole thing breathing through my nose. A lot of the time, I just literally, this was at 5:45 this morning. So I just close my eyes.
Nice.
And I'll have some like music on or whatever, and I just kind of drift off, because that's the beauty of it. You can do that because you don't have to concentrate on much. You're not like thrashing yourself where you have to try and focus on your breathing and your heart rate or any of that stuff. You can just drift off and enjoy it. And that's one of the things I think I like most about it, is that you can enjoy it.
I think it's almost like a meditation state then. Or...
That's what it is for me, because I'm in my garage, I'm on my own, it's early, there's not a lot of noise. I go down there and I tell myself, this is not, you're not killing yourself here.
Yeah, nice.
When I used to get on my bike, when I was training, doing like HIIT training, I would go in there, do like a 5 minute warm up, and then for like half an hour, every minute, it was like a 20-second sprint for 20 to 25 minutes, and it's gopping. And it's quite funny actually with my hand bike, because the turbo trainer isn't bolted to the floor. When my garage used to be empty, I used to put so much force through the thing that I would start with my bike backed up against the wall, and it'd be halfway across the garage by the time I'd finish. The whole thing would just jump across the garage in like 20 minutes time. And like you said earlier, there's a time and a place for that. Like, you know, you've got the JITS World Championships coming up. You know, I'm sure you're going to enter your training camp. You've got it all timed and mapped out, and then you'll have that scheduled in for killing yourself to bring your cardio up. But for regular, everyday people that just want better health, better fitness, to feel better, less achy joints, just a better cardiovascular system, stronger heart, stronger lungs, and this is the secret sauce, I think.
I think so.
I think more people should do this. We talked about this off air. I don't think there's any excuse why people can't do this.
Yeah.
You know, you asked me just now what my preferred method is. I use the bike because it's convenient. It's at my house. It's easy and it fits into my schedule. You know, swimming's a great one too.
Yeah, swimming's a great one.
If you've got bad knees or, you know, lower limb injuries, then low impact swimming, you can do that. Like I say, you're just chilling, like you're not thrashing yourself. And, you know, this is another subject for another podcast, but of all the types of training that I do, when I get out of a pool or the sea at the end, swimming is the one where I always feel the best, the most stretched off and relaxed.
Nice.
What do you do?
I definitely need to get more swimming in. Not a big fan of it, I think, because I'm just so tight. My actual stroking technique
you're like Rocky and Rocky 3.
Just like, I just can't move. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just getting drifted off by the sea. So what do I do? So I can talk about the top zone 2 training, in my opinion, for BJJ athletes. Okay, because that might be a good one for the crowd that's listening. So I think assault bike is amazing because it's up. You're doing push and pull with your arms, and obviously you're pushing with your legs. So it's a full body kind of workout. It's easy to maintain your heart rate because you can have your phone on the screen. That if you're wearing a heart rate monitor. If you're not, as I said, just look out for those things where you can maintain a talking sort of pace, or eventually what you'll notice is the RPM on the screen. Mine's about 60 if I'm doing zone 2, just 60 RPM, and I'm just going to keep that pace for 40 minutes. And if I feel like I'm getting out of breath, I'll drop it even more. I'll drop it to 40, whatever it needs to be, until I'm at that zone 2. We didn't touch on it before, but you want to try and do, if you can, 40 minutes plus, 45 minutes plus of that zone 2. So assault bike, number 1. Number 2, I think the rower is really good because in jiu-jitsu especially, you're crunching down a lot, so you're trying to maintain your guard, you're pushing up your hip flexors, you're crunching your abs, and you're trying to stay in tight. Well, what the rower does is actually the opposite, is you're opening out your body, and also it's full body again. You're pulling, which you do a lot in jiu-jitsu anyway. You're pulling, you're opening up your back and all your hip flexors out. So the rower, I think for me, the rower is my favorite because I seem to get that sort of balanced out training if I'm doing a lot of jiu-jitsu where I'm crunched in, and then if I add the rower in, it sort of balances my body out a little bit in that. And then the next one is the Stepmaster. They got them in most gyms now where it's just steps, 4 or 5 steps, and it's just turning around in a circle. Miserable bit of kit. But the handy thing for me is if I'm in a rush or I need to watch some instructionals, or I've got emails to answer, or whatever I've got to do, is I can just get on the Stairmaster, set the whatever it needs to be, put my phone on the thing, watch the instructional, take notes if I need to because my hands are free, or answer emails or whatever I need to do. So they're the 3 sort of top ones for me. You know, as you said before, we're no expert in this, but I think the sauna, and we'll probably go on to this in a minute, is a form of zone 2. A little bit for me because it gets your heart rate up. Because it gets my heart rate up when I'm in there. My heart rate is sort of up there, and it's up there for quite a long time. It's not like I can maintain a heart rate of 60. It's going to go up to 130, and if not more, sometimes 140. So, you know, I don't know the science behind it, but I do feel, and I know there's loads of benefits to sauna. But I feel like the sauna for me is an amazing one. And if I've done a hard, tough session, there's nothing better for me than to get in the sauna with a cold electrolytes. Normally have this bottle, which is like insulated, put ice in there, put electrolytes in there, or half water, half orange juice, ice in there, and drink that in the sauna because it just feels like I'm just sweating out everything and then replacing it all as well at the same time.
Do you know, one of the things I was just thinking as well, and again, this is another subject for another podcast, where zone 2 cardio is great is for implementing what they call net time, no extra time,
Okay.
where you're doing 2 or 3 things at once.
Mhm.
So, you know, I like to, like I said earlier, I'll either, this morning I had my headphones on with some binaural beats on. I close
Nice.
my eyes and I'm just like focusing and you know, almost like mindfulness, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes I can put a podcast on,
Yeah,
or an
nice.
audiobook. So if you're really like struggling to find the motivation to do this, if you're like on a Netflix binge, this is the great thing about
Yeah,
it.
true.
45 minutes, whack your phone on the Stairmaster, and then because you're going at such a slow pace or a maintained steady pace, you can bang out an episode of whatever it is you're watching on Netflix.
That's a really good idea.
and enjoy the process. And you said about just now, you put your juice in that cup, and it's almost like you're giving yourself a reward for doing the work. So
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't, I just, that's not my thing, like watching Netflix or anything while I'm training. I prefer to just listen to something educational.
But that is rewarding for you. So
Yeah,
just finding your
exactly.
own
And
reward,
but if that's the thing that's going to tip you over that line to go out and do the zone 2, then happy days, do whatever it is that it takes.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, definitely. So as you said, that reward, it's also about building that habit. And I think if you can tie it into that reward, it's going to make you do it, as you said. So how many times would you recommend zone 2 in the week? And as I said, we're no experts in this. We're just giving you our feedback from our general life. How many times do you like to do it? You're not in there every day, yeah? 4 times
no.
a day.
No, but I'd probably aim for like 3 times a week. So I
Yeah.
did it this morning, maybe one midweek one, and then the weekends when I don't generally train, I'll probably maybe like a Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's a good
Go out
idea.
there.
I would say the same, 2 to 3 sessions. So for me, my day-to-day life is like hardish Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday and Thursday now I've started to play a new routine. And my zone 2 days, still training in the morning, but at the end of the training, I do my zone 2. And on the weekend, I normally do an open mat on a Sunday. So that's my sort of, not zone 2, but you know, it's I can sit out if I need
You
to
weren't
rest
zone
or
2 in
whatever.
yesterday at
I
the
know.
open mat, mate. You were
I
getting
know, I was
thrashed.
dying a bit, but the world's coming up 7 weeks, so I've got to push hard. Right, I think we're coming up towards half an hour. Should we cut it there?
We will, but before we do,
Yes.
one more thing. If you're struggling to find the motivation to go out there and do zone 2, is don't take your body for granted. Don't take your health for granted. If you've got no excuse, and most people don't have any excuses why they can't do at least zone 2, just be grateful for your health. Be grateful that you can do it, that you've got all your fingers and all your toes and your heart works right and you've got no issues. Some of you listening may have issues, but we can work around them. You know, you can work around those issues. But for you that are fully healthy, fully able-bodied, you're almost in a way owe it to yourself to get out there and use your body for what it's designed to do, and that is to move.
Bang. I think coming from you, mate, is, you can do it. I think there's anyone that can do it. And also, as you said, when you start to move your body, you become it just becomes almost like a better tool. You just feel so much better. You're getting more energy levels, and but it's getting that uphill spiral first. It starts slow and eventually, and then when you feel good from it all, you want to do it all the time.
Yeah,
But it's getting that ball rolling first.
that's it.
Awesome. So we're a little short and sharp on there today. So thanks for tuning in. So if you could like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you've got any tips for us on Zone 2, let us know in the comments below. Anything from you, mate, to finish?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Thanks for your time today, guys. Bye.